the fact that the campaign program was disrupted by COVID, and we lost time during lockdown. That is February to May. And the Electoral Commission released the new roadmap mid-June. So those 4 months that were lost affected political parties in different ways, including fundraising, mobilization, and preparation, general preparation for participation in the politics. Then the pandemic, of course, came with its own way of life. The standard operating procedures that affect freedom of association, freedom of movement. We have had an unprecedented campaign time amidst curfew without a declaration of state of emergency.
Oh, yes. So it chose to take the Health Act.
So
it chose to take the Health angle.
Yes, there are so many abnormal things happening in this election, but we hope that the 9 days could be better.
Okay.
We hope that we can have news, better news. Unfortunately, it seems, you know, like the news about the voter register yesterday, because if the voter update was completed in December, and the Electoral Commission told us that we have 17.6 million voters. And around October last year, the voter register was sent out of the country to the Netherlands to be cleaned up to improve the integrity of the election.
Yes.
And a new voter register has been born with 18.1 million.
And it has not been taken back.
So when did the new voters register?
These are unprecedented times, Sarah, we are working with. And to look at this, did the death of the new you, in one way or the other, equally mean that the efforts by civil society actors to monitor the election also died?
Well, we got disruptions at several fronts.
Yes.
First was the irregular ban of new you by an authority that does not have mandate on who observes the elections and how citizens associate. The mandate of the National NGO Bureau is to regulate NGOs. It is not to regulate how citizens associate. So you have the Bureau whose control is limited to registered NGOs, regulating who observes the elections. Okay. Very abnormal. Because under Section 16 of the Electoral Commission Act, the Commission can accredit individuals, organizations, institutions to observe elections. The accreditation is not limited to NGOs. So when you have a national bureau saying that you cannot now associate because I don't regulate ABC, and you cannot observe elections, under what mandate? Very abnormal circumstances. Under an abnormal situation.
But did that mean where the civil society actors and all the NGOs are not going to monitor and observe the elections with a critical eye? Because at the end of the day, we need to balance the tide.
We are observing elections. That was one of the disruptions. The second disruption was freezing of accounts by the biggest networks observing elections. The National NGO Forum, our umbrella organization, its accounts are still frozen. The Uganda Women's Network, an umbrella organization for women, participation in politics and gender mainstreaming, its accounts are still frozen. And then to make matters worse, the legal representative of the two organizations was arrested. Yes, just as he was planning to file cases to unfreeze these accounts. So that is the situation of local election observers in general. We are basically under siege as local CSOs observing elections. But we are still trying to do our best to observe elections because we are aware that because of the pandemic, efforts by international observers are limited or curtailed. And we might not have any international observers in these elections.
Well, the government said it's come out clearly that there's some elements, on quote, the president, who happens to be equally the NRM flag bearer, say that there are elements who are meant to cause anarchy in this country, in these emotional times where we are. And they're using funds through the NGOs and CSOs to create this kind of disruptions. And the peace the government in power says it has built for the last 35 years. And how true is this?
Well, Andrew, we have had these allegations for 3 years of foreign agents working to destabilize Uganda.
Yes.
It is very unfortunate that for over the 3 years, we do not have any mention of these so-called elements. The Presidential Elections Act, the Anti-Terrorism Act, the Anti-Money Laundering Act, these are laws of Uganda enacted under the NRM regime, under the leadership of President Museveni. They provide that in such circumstances, government should table a list of enemies of Uganda with evidence in Parliament, so that every citizen is aware of who these elements working to destabilize Uganda are, so that they don't associate with them. And if they associate with them, then there are repercussions. Why is it that for 3 years, the government is hesitant to name these so-called enemies of Uganda? Why? And how are citizens supposed to know who is working to destabilize Uganda and who is not working to destabilize Uganda? So why are they violating the laws?
They're saying that NGOs are a conduit of all this. And they're saying that this money that is being received is being dispersed in one way or the other. But maybe leaving that for now.
No, before we leave it, I think it is important for citizens of this country to know that the same partners that fund government of Uganda are the same partners that fund civil society in this country. And if these people are working to destabilize Uganda, then the main conduit is government, which takes the biggest chunk of their money. You know, this is just blackmail.
Have you gone to courts to challenge this in one or the other?
But what do you challenge? Do you challenge rumor-mongering? Court does not work on rumors. Yes, if they are enemies of this country, if there are people working to destabilize this country, let them be named and evidence tabled in Parliament as per the laws of this country. Yes.
Okay. Now, moving on, let's talk about the election. The president has been seen on different forums saying that Electoral Commission and the opposition are planning to rig him out. This incidence of rigging, it's a conversation that has kept coming. Not only that, before you react to this, Sarah, the NRM has a tallying center. But we have a precedent in 2011 and 2016, the tallying center of FDC was, taken over by security forces, and police cordoned off the area saying that they were taking all evidence. God knows what was used for that. What do you make of this? Him saying that the Electoral Commission at times connives with the opposition to rig him out, and this time he has a tallying center for himself.
Well, I did mention that the kind of election we are going for is very abnormal.
Yes.
But on the issue of the commission and rigging and conduct of officials, we did see, I think it was around September, the sacking of senior electoral officials without following due process. The president fired. And
EC said they resigned.
No, yeah, I know that was the damage control, and you need to bear with Justice Biawakama, because what did you do? So the president fired senior officials of the Electoral Commission and has repeatedly said that he fired them for corruption.
Yes.
One would assume that the president had a complete investigative report, which he based on to act. Why aren't these people charged in court?
They're still free.
And to make matters worse, the president, by the time he interfered with the staff of the Electoral Commission, he was already a nominated candidate by his party. So you had an unprecedented incident of a presidential candidate interfering with the Electoral Commission that is presumed to be independent under the Constitution.
So does this bring the question that is the EC independent?
If he acted on evidence, can these people be charged in court? He has repeatedly mentioned that they even interfered with the process of procuring the voter biometric machines.
True.
Even up to now, we do not know whether Electoral Commission has completed this procurement. We do not know how these machines are going to be used. 9 days to voting.
They said EC, according to today's Daily Monitor, EC is saying that they don't have enough manpower to register, rather to man the different polling stations in one way or the other. Let's talk about
have they trained officers?
Time is not on their side. We are dealing with unprecedented elections.
9 days. 9 days. Have they trained?
So does this bring doubt in what we are headed for in 9 days, Sarah, from your lenses as you perceive it?
You know, to me, you would understand that we are working under a problematic situation of a pandemic. But there are many intentional mistakes that have been committed in this election. One is violation of people's rights in the campaign trail. Candidates were arrested, violently arrested, assaulted, right on nomination day. 2 of the leading opposition candidates. And then we have had disruptions, intentional disruptions by security forces throughout the campaign trail of the opposition rallies under the guise of controlling
COVID-19. But these SOPs were signed. All these candidates signed on these SOPs, and they said we will abide by these regulations.
Yes, I am just coming. I think, you know, we know that it's the duty. First of all, it's individual responsibility to prevent ourselves from COVID. Beyond that, you know, we need to look at how prepared were we to organize a hybrid election. In other countries that have conducted elections during COVID, the mandate of ensuring that SOPs are observed has been the mandate of health workers and not politicians. We have health teams up to village level, village health teams, parish health teams, sub-county health teams. You know, why didn't we prepare these health teams, give them protective gear, and make them in charge of ensuring that SOPs are observed during campaigns like in other countries? Was this rocket science? Secondly, we see people turning up without masks.
Oh, yes.
I've never received my mask, Andrew. Each time I'm on this show, I mention that where is my mask? And if I have not received my mask,
and you're in Kampala,
I have staff at office who have never received masks. I have family members, extended family members,
who have not received masks.
Nobody has ever received a mask. So where are these masks for citizens? And how are they going to vote? Because even yesterday, as people lined up to pick the voter
most of them didn't have masks.
Slips. Yes. So where are the masks? 9 days to voting, and how are they going to vote? Are they going to be turned away because they don't have masks? And who is responsible for that?
It is the government, but government says that where it can fail, you can provide yourself as a citizen.
Where is the money? Parliament appropriated the money. Can it be returned? I think this question should not be left to lie. No.
Let's talk about the tallying centers. NRM has its tallying center, but we had a precedent in 2011 and 2016 around the FDC. Even Mujisha Muntu was still there. Their tallying center was invaded by security operatives, and they say they confiscated a lot of stationery and data, God knows for what. Looking at today, and this is a president that was in 2016 when they were invading the offices, taking whatever they had, and they had a tallying center. NRM this time around has a tallying center. Bobby Wine on the other side, he launched an app where you vote, it keeps tallying and all that. What do you make of this, Sarah?
Well, the Constitution provides that the Electoral Commission will announce the final result. There is no law that prohibits political parties from conducting their independent tally. There is no law that prohibits media from announcing elections as they come in, so long as you don't make a final announcement.
Yes. These are not the official...
No, yes. So a polling station has finished tallying, have announced, agents have signed, observers have witnessed. You can announce that at polling station A, these are the scores.
Yes.
But we have seen previously interruptions by security, stopping these announcements.
Oh, yes.
In addition to that, we saw the raid of the FDC Tally Center in 2016 elections, which was very unfortunate. But we also saw absence of national tallying in Ambole. The computers were empty. There was nothing going on.
The network got off.
Engineer Chugundu said that he got results from the website. And we all know the network coverage in this country. So which website and who was posting those results? So these are the things that the Commission of Justice should not attempt to repeat in this country.
Let's talk about mobilization. There has been a lot of, the approach has been door-to-door mobilization for the NRM party, where they say they're not going to follow the rallies and the big mass crowds. They're going to go the mobilization of door-to-door mobilization. Museveni has not reached to quite so many people in real time this time around. And from where you stand, as someone who looks at elections very patently, are these efforts achieving? Do we achieve when we use door-to-door? Because opposition is saying that they're using this approach as in a very clandestine way to reach out with lots of money.
Well, Andrew, the opposition, I know they are struggling with this campaign.
Okay.
Both in terms of money, in terms of the injustice vested against them by the security agencies, targeted harassment, targeted brutality, consistent targeted brutality by security forces against opposition. So you have a situation where these were supposed to be basically digital campaigns. So this would assume that there is a level playing field for all candidates to access media and pass on their information. Because what defines a free and fair election?
Level grounds.
Level ground, access to information so that citizens are able to make an informed decision on who should govern them. We should have the integrity of the voter register. So these disparities, I think, are almost 445 new voters that have been born on the voter register must be explained.
Yes.
Because that distorts the whole principle of the integrity of the voter register and distorts the whole election. Because who is going to vote? And where are they coming from? Where are these new voters coming from?
Possibly they had not registered before, but now they were given
But the voting was closed, and moreover, we blocked more than 1 million young voters under the claim of saying there is no time, and they had closed in December last year. So where are these new voters coming from? So then you have free movement. So we have held COVID under curfew. Even there was no leeway to say candidates should move. And we have had situations of candidates sleeping on the road.
Oh, yes.
Under the guise of curfew and whatever reason, crazy reasons I don't know, by security forces. So this is the nature of the campaign. But there are also other ways of campaigning, other than public rallies, which are the most easiest, most affordable, and most common. We have media spaces. Then away from that, you can have posters and kakuyege, among others, and mobile community radio. Yes. So kakuyege is an effective way of voter mobilization, but it's very expensive because you should have a team.
Facilitate.
It's a team moving house to house, but it's very effective. And I think voters appreciate more that one-on-one connection. So it works.
But expensive.
It's very expensive.
And do you think by that, has opposition done enough to reach voters who are the majority using the different models they have used this time around?
Well, they have been intentionally blocked. We've all been watching, including assault on people that are supposed to transmit information and messages of candidates, the media. So we've all been watching the violence in this election. Even a young child can tell you that, no, this is not normal. This is very abnormal. It has ceased to be a hybrid election to an abnormal election. So you violate media. Media are supposed to be the eyes of the people, and they're supposed to reach where people cannot reach and transmit information back. But I think some journalists are still hospitalized. One of your colleagues, Ali Mivure, just came out of hospital.
Oh, yes.
And he was told that he's going to be made collateral damage by the regional police commander.
What a shame.
Now, what is that? Yeah.
Let's talk about the role of mobilizers, the role they play in campaign like this that have been, should I say, highly militarized, and as scenes of kidnaps and claims of foreign support in one or the other affected the biggest mobilization strategies.
Well, the campaign environment is very volatile and hostile. The propaganda.
Yes. I
think Ugandans are used to this propaganda. It's been here for a while. I mean, there's nothing new. This propaganda has been thrown around for a long time.
Intimidation.
Yes, for civil society, for the consistent 3 or 4 years, we've been branded foreign agents with no evidence, with no justification, with no clarification, and no rationale.
But before government came, has civil society done its job to awaken the minds of Ugandans to make informed decisions before? Because if this comes 3 years to elections, before we get to those 3 years, a civil society given a free area to flourish, whatever they're doing?
Well, civil society efforts are supposed to be complementary.
Indeed.
When it comes to voter education. The sole mandate of civic education is Uganda Human Rights Commission. And voter education is a subsection of civic education. But has the Uganda Human Rights ever been given money?
It doesn't have a
do their constitutional mandate. Plus, they don't have a home, a father. They don't have a chair. So they cannot even make reports to Parliament because they don't have a chair. And this is happening at the height of human rights violations, intentional human rights violations. So even the absence of a substantive chair for the Human Rights Commission is intentional.
You're handcuffed.
So that they don't do any work. So now they are like an NGO. Yeah, because they cannot report to Parliament. They cannot make their annual reports. They don't have a chair to make these reports. So away from that, Electoral Commission is supposed to do voter education.
Yes.
But the budget they received for voter education, countrywide voter education, is 800 million.
That's a drop.
What do you do with 800 million?
That's a drop indeed.
And then the complementary efforts of civil society. Some organizations were accredited, I think, from August. Others are still waiting accreditation to do voter education and election observation. You must be accredited by Electoral Commission. I saw an announcement that there is a center now at Serena to do accreditation. So if you accredit somebody today to do voter education, what do they do? 9
days to educate to voting.
Voting.
Possibly could go in an overdrive. Let's look at, Sarah, there's been a fight over rallies in this campaign. You and I have had conversations over this, but are rallies enough to reach the message to the masses? Isn't it time to fight over ground mobilization infrastructure in one way or the other? Like you can use your infrastructure as a party, that your message can go down to the last person at the bottom of the pyramid.
Yes, rallies are the easiest ways of passing on a message on what you intend to do for the people and seeking their mandate through votes. It's the easiest and most effective way of reaching many people. Next to rallies is media. Mainstream media, social media, you reach more people. Because if you say parties should use their structures, most of the parties, including the ruling party, they reopen their offices towards the campaign. after campaign, you will see a lot of defaulting on rent and closure of offices. So before an election, there is no party structure to write home about, even for the ruling party, which has access to biggest funding, including the biased funding they get through iPod. So, yes, I call it biased because whereas the Political Parties and Organizations Act provide that during an election, money should be distributed equally.
To all parties.
Electoral Commission and Minister of Finance connived and gave 80% of that money to NRM. So that's why I call it biased funding, political party funding. The law exists, and the money was distributed according to parliamentary numbers, contrary to the provision that says during an election, it should be on equal basis.
To all parties?
Yes, the law is public.
Wow. It's Morning at NTV. We are having a great conversation as we are heading to elections 9 days from now. How ready are we as a nation? Not only that, how a lot more is actually happening around. We'll take a break and we'll be back shortly.
You're watching Morning at NTV.
Morning at NTV. We are live on NTV and we are from Kampala Swine Conference Center. A couple of people have given feedback here on Twitter, Sarah. I want to sample a couple of them here. They have given us very great feedback. Someone here is saying that, well, Sarah, this is one of the big people in this country. I won't mention the name because he hates his name to be out in the media. It says, I want to ask Sarah, has government affected their operations before elections? As a country, we are under attack. And these CSOs and NGOs are all joining hands, singing Kumbaya when our country is on the brink of being disrupted. So, has government interfered with your work before elections before?
Andrew, we have a report on office break-ins by security agencies. Since 2011, more than 46 offices of NGOs have been broken into. Even some offices with CCTV cameras captured members of security forces. And these are mainly human rights related NGOs. There is no single report by police since 2011 on office break-ins of NGOs, and more than 46 NGOs, offices of NGOs have been broken into. But the height of attacks on civil society were witnessed during age limit campaign. We saw the siege on ActionAid offices, on offices of Great Lakes Institute for Strategic Studies, and Uhuru Institute. Their accounts were frozen for more than 3 months. There is no single report up to today. Even some equipment of some organizations that was taken for investigation, 2017.
Up to today.
Up to today is still in police custody. Yes, so to that senior citizen of this country, there has been consistent attack on NGOs and civic space in this country. The climax of this was during the campaign of age limit and now during this election. So for us as civil society, our conclusion is that wherever there is a contestation on governance issues, there is increasing attack on civic space. And this is not new. So whether this country is under threat and civil society are singing Kumbaya, was this country under threat in 2017? Secondly, if this country is under threat, why doesn't the government do what is required of it and present evidence to Parliament so that me as Sarah, ahead of an NGO in this country,
that is blacklisted,
I cannot deal with a named enemy of Uganda. But I do not have security information. I am not a security expert. I am a lawyer and a human rights activist.
So you don't know the threats?
Am I going to dream about them? Why doesn't government follow the laws of the country and inform citizens about who these enemies are instead of blackmailing civil society?
Elitri Juche on Twitter says that, Sarah, where does then this leave us? Are we going in a process that is of freedom of action? What are we going to get into when they have less capacity to handle us, when we didn't receive masks? And should we go ahead and practice our right as citizens, irregardless?
Well, there was a meeting of interparty organizations with the Electoral Commission yesterday. They did ask that the Electoral Commission should state clear guidelines to be followed on voting day.
On the voting days.
So I think what citizens need to watch out for, if Electoral Commission says whichever citizen that does not have a mask should not vote, I think then citizens who have not received their masks should walk to Ministry of Health and look for their masks.
But if they walk there, that's a procession.
Then how are they going? Are you going to violate and suspend the enjoyment of sovereign rights as contained in Article 1 of the Constitution for the inefficiencies and inaccuracies and corrupt tendencies of some officials? Are poor people condemned not to enjoy their political rights in this country?
They have a right to.
Then what is going to happen?
But what we're trying to say here is, can we find lasting solutions?
Can every citizen receive their mask in these 9 days? I also want my mask.
So if you don't get your mask, you're not going to vote?
No, let them ask for them. Every district has a district terrace office. Let people look for their masks because they must enjoy their sovereign rights. Okay,
still on Twitter here, we're still trying to tap a little bit of the feedback. Thank you so much for the feedback. Someone here says that opposition, Bariho says, blocked from what? All procedure measures, were they followed? Opposition, has it been following? And have your CSOs and NGOs, has it been making reports and going to court to report when they have not been given due listening? Says that maybe it blocked itself due to non-compliance, as CSOs and NGOs, as well as the opposition now, compliant to the new guidelines as well as the rules and regulations that guide you, Sarah?
Well, the National NGO Bureau did mention a validated list of NGOs. It's above 8,000 NGOs that are validated by the Bureau. My organization, which was a member of NUU, is a validated NGO in this country.
You've used the past tense, which was?
Because NUU was banned. And we are in court. So I was adding to that, in addition to that, I am a member of validated NGOs in this country. Perfect. And I have my right to associate as per Article 29 of the Constitution. I am in court as a petitioner over the ban of NUU by the NGO Bureau. But of course we know the courts are not purely independent. So because this is a case that should have been determined ahead of elections. So because we were in court saying it is our right to observe elections, and the role of a person who supervises observation of elections does not lie with the NGO Bureau. It lies with the Electoral Commission as per Section 16 of the Constitution. And I am an accredited member to observe elections by the NGO Bureau. So by the Electoral Commission. Yes, as a validated NGO, but I'm also accredited to observe elections as an individual and as an organization. But this right was violated.
All right, there is someone here saying that, well, Sarah, thank you so much for fighting for our rights, but you knowing that the country is under threat and we are under attack in disguise.
By who?
Enemies of the country.
Who are they?
Okay, she goes and says that what should be our call to actions as citizens as well as maintaining our rights?
I think our call to citizens is that, and we have a precedent, by the way. In 2001, the government of Uganda, under the leadership of President Museveni, tabled a list of enemies in parliament. And there
enemies
was,
to Uganda?
Yes. And there was only one country, Rwanda. It was tabled, and evidence was adduced, and parliament approved that in that election,
Rwanda was
nobody should deal with Rwanda, and it was clear. Unfortunately, that list has never been withdrawn. So we don't know
whether we're still working with Rwanda.
Is Rwanda still an enemy? And we have had the restoration of bilateral relations after that. So do we say that also government that dealt with Rwanda after that also dealt with an enemy of Uganda? That is a question for another day. But yes, so I am reminding, including the senior citizen that said this country is under attack. I am reminding them that there is nothing new. This has been done before. We have had this chorus of foreign agents for 3 years. Consistent chorus of foreign agents planning to overthrow a legitimate government of Uganda. It is illegal. It is condemned in 3 laws of Uganda that I have mentioned. Let the government do what is required of them and table a government of a list of enemies of Uganda in parliament.
Let's go to election day. What do you perceive of the election day? What do you feel the mood is going to be like? Do you feel the populace is judged, is geared towards this big day, with or without a mask? Are they excited about this? And what do you make of that excitement?
Well, under normal circumstances, every eligible voter would be looking forward
to this election,
to voting day. We have many things going the wrong way. There are some deliberate efforts to inculcate fear and intimidate citizens. And we have many things going the wrong way, abductions, killings. I think the latest target is on boxers. Oh, yeah. Because we have had a systematic move of attacks on civic space. The first attack was in May, when UCC released 19 regulations seeking to close the creative industry. Oh, yes. And inflict on rights of internet usage, followed by 7 notices by UC, which we are challenging in court. Somebody was saying, what have we been doing? Yes, as a constitutional watchdog, we try what we can. Oh, yes. Challenge some of these things. Petitions take forever. Some petitions don't go our way, others go our way, but we shall keep doing that we thought to do. Watch the protection, observation and the defense of the Constitution in this country and its implementation. So then we moved to attacks on civil society, especially, and it's important to note, especially for that question that came in, that the NGOs being targeted for attack are NGOs working on elections.
Not human rights this time?
Of course, human rights and pro-governance NGOs are working on elections. So the catchword is NGOs working on elections. Those are the NGOs targeted under attack. Somebody did ask that, has my organization ever been attacked? No, it has not been attacked.
Maybe because you're vocal. Maybe you because...
No. I don't know the reasons. Yeah, but it has not yet been attacked. Yes. So I thought also I should clarify that.
Yes, I think that's better.
Yes. So, but our colleagues, you know, we work in a collective.
Oh, yes.
Like if we work under an umbrella of NGO Forum, and you attack NGO Forum, you've attacked all of us.
All of us, yes.
You siege accounts of NGO Forum. Most of our programs are funded through NGO Forum. So you've attacked the sector. And you do not have to go attacking every individual. Once you attack the big networks, which the regime did, attacked National NGO Forum, that is an attack on the whole sector.
Because it's the source.
Attack the Uganda Women's Network, that is an attack on women participation outside government institutions. Clear attack.
So election day.
Election day, I hope that we shall not see a repeat of violence in these 9 days.
After you vote, go home. That's what
No, even these 9 days, I hope that the security agencies can conduct themselves in a professional manner.
We hope so. We hope so, because on the journal's side, it's a bit heavy.
Yes. I hope that the attacks on media targeted attacks. You know, there has been an excuse that politicians do not observe SOPs.
Yes, SOPs, true.
Are journalists not observing SOPs?
We try our best in the line of duty.
I see all journalists in masks. I see them distanced. I see them in, you know, helmets as if they are in a war situation.
Yes.
I see them in their vests. All they have is a camera. And they are under attack. So I think it is important also for the security to tell us. If you say politicians are not observing SOPs, are journalists also violating SOPs? Why are you attacking them? Are you preventing COVID? So I hope that this excuse will not happen again. It is very unfortunate. We hope that these 9 days can become to create a conducive environment for Ugandans to choose the leaders of their choice as enshrined in the Constitution.
Sarah, what do you make of
then
the popular?
What happens in these 9 days and on voting day and the announcement of results will determine how the post-election environment will be.
As citizens, what's our call to action to make sure that we play a key role to the voting day and even post the election day? What are our key roles as citizens from your watch?
My call to citizens is threefold. Let's all remain peaceful.
Indeed.
Let's all observe SOPs because COVID is real and the life has no spare.
Oh, yeah.
Once you're dead, you're
You're
dead.
dead.
Most families have really experienced COVID. Most, I think about 80% of families have experienced COVID, extended families. And we all know what it means to battle COVID and have COVID patients in your family. And the risk it poses to the whole family. So let's observe SOPs to the extent humanly possible. I feel sorry for poor Ugandans that cannot afford masks and have been, you know, like denying somebody a mask in a situation of a pandemic is like condemning poor people to death. I feel very sorry for them. And I think whoever is responsible should not be let off the hook.
Okay. Oh, there you have, that is Sarah Bilete.
Yes, my other call is that whoever is registered to vote, let's turn up to vote. The sovereign right of choosing leaders is the most important right because it determines the kind of government you're going to have for the next 5 years. Let's also all ensure that the elections are free and fair.
Okay, well, there you have it. Sarah makes it much more clear. You and I have a sovereign right to go and vote. So make sure you turn up on the 14th of Jan 2021 at your polling station. You go vote. It's very key.